almost every morning.
Yeah. I do the same thing, and I was actually, here was the thing. This morning I was ready to give you the link at 7:44, then I started reading the article involved in it, but I had everything set up by 7:44, and I forgot to give you the link, and then it's 7:58.
Well, I saw I was sat down at about 12 minutes too, and I figured I got time to read this article.
Yeah.
Which I didn't.
Yeah. All right. Welcome.
It was a different one than we're doing today, but still.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Welcome, everybody. 6 days to Christmas, 12 days to the new year, or to the year end. 2 shows after this one. So, welcome to Talking Niagara this morning. This is Niagara's political talk show, held every morning at 7 a.m., every weekday morning at 7 a.m. There you go. So, and we tackle hard problems like the following one. Niagara Regional Councillor's appeal for travel expenses was denied. Basically, Hayley Bateman, representing St. Catharines on the Regional Council, was seeking $738 in mileage reimbursement for a 9-hour round trip from her vacation to Niagara Falls City Hall, a Niagara Falls meeting. I just think with the advent of Zoom, etc., today, what earthly reason can she justify having that on, not appearing on Zoom?
This does not look good on her. I'll put that out there.
Yeah.
How on earth did she think? Like, if it was an emergency session of regional council meetings or
an emergency session,
someplace where it's very important for her to be in person, but as far as I can see, it's only basically because she was referred to in the Niagara Falls council meeting.
Yeah.
And she's a regional councilor, so
This was about the women's protest, I believe.
Yes, and said she felt obliged to make a 9-hour round trip while on vacation, and then she wants to feels that she is obliged to do that, and then wants to dump the bill for that on the taxpayer.
Yeah,
I mean, she's fully entitled to interrupt her vacation and come down and support or be a part of this meeting, but that's an ideological thing. I don't think it's that important. I don't think the taxpayers expect her to do that. And I think leaning on the taxpayer for something like that, which kind of puts you, where is your head on this one? How could you think at all that this should be that you interrupting your vacation, driving 9 hours this way and then dumping the charge on the taxpayer? How could that be justified?
Not in the least bit justified. Right.
Well, I'd like to hear her reasoning here.
Well, her reasoning is that she argued the presence at the meeting was required as a regional council, and she cited advice from the Integrity Commissioner, who apparently told her that attending would be considered work-related.
Yeah, she says that she, Bateman, this is what her said, she felt obliged to make the 9-hour round trip while on vacation at an unspecified location to attend a Niagara Falls council meeting on July 8th after she had been referenced in a report on the city's agenda and website. I'm not asking for the stars and the moon. I'm asking for mileage, but still, she does not make a good case for why she felt her presence was so important.
And you see, had she
have to pay for it.
Yeah, had she been in St. Catharines, had she been in the region, I have no problem rubber stamping that mileage, right? If she's out of the region, I'm sorry. The first question is, Why can't you appear by Zoom? There are plenty of other people that appear by Zoom.
I don't think whether she was in the region or not in the region, the having charged the taxpayer for mileage, no matter where she is, whether it's $700 or $7, is that in this particular incident, was it justified? Was it even a real?
Yeah.
No, obviously,
and it probably
the rules were against her.
Yeah, and probably just because her name was on the agenda didn't mean that she had to comment on the item. And
no,
you're right.
She was referenced
right.
in the report.
Pardon me?
She was just referenced in the report.
Exactly. And you're right. If I was a city councillor for Niagara Falls and there was a council meeting in St. Catharines, I would not, that mentioned my name, I wouldn't be charging for my attendance at a St. Catharines City Council meeting.
Bateman's
I would just appear. I would just appear and, say my hellos to the thing and just tell them, hey, I'm here if you need me. Nothing further.
You mentioned Zoom and that before, but she didn't even have to do that much. All she had to do is connect with someone else that had been at the meeting, and then they could refer to her through a telephone, through Zooms, through other things.
Yeah.
Because she was referenced, I'm sure that happens all times. Like,
Doug
Ford is referenced. Do you expect him to drive all the way down here, then charge the taxpayer money?
And Doug Ford isn't going to, just because his name happens to be on the agenda as Premier of Ontario, doesn't mean that Doug Ford needs to be present, because after all, on an average day, Doug Ford's name could be mentioned in 15 different city halls, couldn't it?
That's right. And even though Doug Ford's a rather portly fellow, I don't think there's enough of him to go around.
Yeah. And he shouldn't have to be here either. He shouldn't have to be here. And it says something if you are worried that because your name is on an agenda, it's going to be active against you. As I said, if I were a local city councillor here and my name was on a report in St. Catharines, I may attend, but I wouldn't be charging any expenses. And largely because I'd probably be in St. Catharines anyway on the day of the meeting.
Here's the bottom line. The submission for mileage to the City of Niagara Falls Council meeting was therefore considered by staff to be an ineligible expense, as it was not related to regional business to the best of the staff's knowledge, and therefore outside the policy.
Yeah.
Whether or not it was a good idea for her to be there or not, whether it was contingent upon her or ethically or whatever her responsibilities she felt in this particular case, if she wanted to make that decision on her own, she should have checked. If she wanted the mileage, she should have checked ahead of time whether or not it was allowed. And I think pretty much you could figure that out on her own, which makes me wonder where her mind is here. She should have been able to determine that was not going to be an eligible expense. And if she wanted to, she could have looked into that quietly and not embarrassed herself as she's done here. She might have thought, well, maybe this is considered regional council business, and maybe I can get $700 back from mileage. Let me just ask and not submit. And they could probably have answered her questions. But right now, she looks like she doesn't look too good. Look, I decided to come to a regional or a Niagara Falls City Council meeting because I was referenced there. So I felt it contingent upon myself to drive all the way down here and back afterwards and drop the price tag for that on the taxpayer.
And actually, there's another thing that actually rings alarm bells on this one, right? is that every person in Niagara is feeling the pinch. Every person in Niagara has been hoping and praying that Bob Gale's 3.5% would be approved, would really be approved, and that it's expenses exactly like this that send the wrong message.
Yeah, she hasn't made a case very well here. She has not made her case well. As a matter of fact, it looks superfluous. It looks thin. The evidence that she puts out is very thin. This is why I should get this. It doesn't. She hasn't made a very good case for herself, and I'm not. And the way it is expressed here in the newspaper, it doesn't look as if it's taken a bias one way or another on it. It's just basically on the facts of it. Yeah. And she says, well, you know, I should have been there, and so the taxpayers got to pay for it. And when there was other opportunity, whatever other opportunities or other means by which she could have stayed connected with that, if she did indeed feel it was necessary to be there. And if she, and when did she find out that she was referenced in this? Was it the last minute? And that's why she thought she should jump in a car and come down and turn around and go back? Is that,
don't know.
You know, did she know that she was referenced? She must have known she was referenced sometime ahead. And
absolutely,
she could have then decided whether or not, and gone to the region and said, look, am I entitled to this? Is this?
Well, she did. She asked an integrity commissioner whether she's entitled to do this, but I don't think she painted.
At what time? Before or after she went?
That I don't know, because she said, in her argument, she basically said the trip was part of her duties as a regional councillor. She cited advice from integrity commissioner that it was work related.
Okay, well, who was that integrity? Who was that integrity commissioner? Number one, who was it? And where can that integrity commissioner now testify on her behalf that he determined that it was justified? Now, when did he do that? Before or after?
And on the basis of what facts did she tell him?
True enough.
You know, and I only ask that. I'm not accusing the councillor of lying, right? But again, it's the way. If I pose a question to you in a particular way, you may give me a different answer than if I pose the same question to you in a different way, right? You know what I mean?
Possibly, but when she says that, then she's going to have to tell us who the integrity commissioner was, what information she gave him.
Yep.
She says, okay, she sought the legal or ethical justification through integrity commissioner, but then she doesn't mention who that integrity commissioner is. She doesn't mention how she presented the case to him or her. So if she wants to move this any further, and she brings the integrity commissioner, that would be an altogether different thing. If this integrity commissioner had actually given her the green light to go, and that's the basis by which she is now wanting $700 for travel, that's an entirely different thing. If she was given the green light and told that was okay, but until she brings up that evidence, then it's no good. So then that would be a matter of the integrity commissioner, and everybody then could judge it as the poor judgment was on the integrity commissioner, not her. Then that brings it into a whole different thing. If she went ahead and I think this might be part of my responsibilities as regional councilor to attend this meeting, and I go to an integrity commissioner and they said yes it is, and you can charge, this is council business, and therefore you can charge your travel. But who is that? and it's been turned down. Obviously, it's been turned down because she can't produce this guy. And if the regional staff who looks into this sees no credibility in her story, and she can't produce the integrity commissioner to back her up, it looks very unprofessional, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they've made their determination.
Oh, yeah.
So the first thing you do when you submit it, and they say, well, we're going to turn this down. When you submit it, you would say, as you submit it, you would say, here is the integrity commissioner that said it was okay, and that's why I'm submitting it. Yeah, because I checked first.
Well, exactly. It's a questionable expense anyway, and if you have the integrity commissioners. Basically, if I was having this conversation with the integrity commissioner for no other reason than making sure that everything was documented, the conversation would not be by voice, it would be by email.
Yes, and even if it wasn't, when she submitted it and the staff says, I don't know about this, if it was a justifiable expense, at this particular point, as she submitted it, and as she first got a bit of resistance on it, well, we don't know if this is justified. We'll have to look into it, but it doesn't look good. She can say, "Hey, whoa, it's fine," because Madam Smith, the integrity commissioner, said it was okay. I checked with Madam Smith first, whoever the integrity commissioner is.
Yeah, whoever the person is, and that integrity commissioner need not ever have been revealed to members of the public.
No, but obviously the region who the regional expense account people are just saying, look, no, I don't see any justification for this at all.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know if she can appeal this or not. But the way it reads in the article does not look good for her. Now we have to make sure that we realize that sometimes how it reads in the paper isn't exactly how it came down, or why.
Oh, I know.
It's hard for me to think of somebody that's an experienced councilor like that would make a frivolous appeal for money.
Yep. All right. So moving on, it's an interesting. The province has announced Bob Gale to be the new regional chair, taking over from Jim Bradley, who was, I think most people would accept that across the region he was actually well liked and actually put the region in the right direction. I would also say that it's interesting. When Jim Bradley died, I believe I said to somebody the new regional chair will be Bob Gale.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it here on the show too.
I believe I did. And we talked about his role at the Niagara Parks Commission as chair of the Niagara Parks Commission and how that would change. But he's a regional councillor, and I think a well-regarded regional councillor. We know he's a conservative, but as a conservative, he's always fought for the people of this region. He's made his position very clear, and he's been very clear, particularly on overspending in the region.
I would say that probably the only drawbacks Bob Gale has is that his temper, his impatience with what he perceives to be incompetence. So I would think that Bob Gale was probably a good choice, but on the diplomatic, he's going to have to work on his diplomacy. Because if somebody comes up with a proposal that he doesn't like, he may just be.
I think Bob Gale knows the difference between diplomacy, between making a point as a councillor and the diplomacy required as the chair of the region. I think he does know that difference. Now, I think it's a practical
Bob Gale,
I don't. I've never met Bob. I think I've met Bob Gale once, right? But he's a person who I've got a great deal of confidence in.
I think Bob Gale is a very good man. So first of all, you look for the character. Now,
Yeah.
of course, the politics, the black and white politics that seems to be encumbering us all together. You're a good guy or a bad guy. You're with us or you're against us. I'm right, you're wrong kind of idea. I mean, it's troublesome to me. Like, this is a conservative. I'm pretty sure that many people who are liberals and NDP have no problem.
Exactly. He's not the person. He's not the person who's going to go, well, that Dave Wheeler's got his hand up. He's NDP. I'm not having him say a damn word. I'm going to ignore him for the rest of the meeting. Right? He's not that kind of person.
Well,
in any case, municipal. Sorry, the region headquarters is not the place for that kind of thing.
And you can't really criticize the Ford government. On the surface, okay, they went and looked for a prominent conservative to put in the regional as regional chair. But do remember that the liberal Jim Bradley was put in there by the same government.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The only irksome thing I think of here is, should not we, the voters, be the ones that, I mean, he's already voted in as a councilor, so he has been elected. He has a mandate from the people. But to make that, normally the other councilors are the ones that vote for who is going to be the chairman.
Yeah.
The other option, of course, is
there was a proposal a few years ago that said the regional chair should be a region vote. Obviously, the appointment of a replacement regional chair is a different matter.
Yeah, so
because obviously you're not going to replace a person, a person who got 150,000 votes across the region with somebody who got 5,000.
Well, the government will do anything it wants to do. Like, if it has, whatever. So it's taking Bob Gale and put him in. Now,
yeah,
they also put Bradley in, and the reason why they put Bradley in is because of his. He had experience, lots and lots of government experience. He was, a very accomplished public servant, and he was MPP and all that. Bob Gale is a similar. He has a lot of credibility when it comes into that. He is on this board and that board and this board. Yeah. He is, of course, famous for philanthropy long before he got into public office. So, as far as a character, the average Niagaran, despite whether they're NDP or whatever, can look upon the character of the man and feel comfortable that he's a man of character, ethics, and responsibility.
In old council, in old meetings, I've seen him work more than adequately with Wayne Gates and other people of varying persuasions. So I believe he's the right person for the job. He uses the right people for the job, right? And I think he will get the right things done. Now, the only thing about this is that the strongest spokesman for the 3.5% is now the chair and can't say a damn word.
Yeah, got a good point there too. And I'll relate back to Wayne Gates. Like, no matter how many times people complain that he's in a party that, why would we vote for him when he's in a party that's nearly inconsequential at this particular time in Ontario history? Why did people go for him? Because of the same reasons I said. He is a man involved in the community, a man of character. So you have a strong feeling that right or wrong, whatever decision he makes, it's based on, you know, there you will not find any sort of corruption involved here. And I don't.
Yeah.
And the same thing runs for Bob Gale too. As a matter of fact, Bob Gale cannot be corrupted financially because he's already a wealthy man. So it's pretty hard to, pay him off. But is he the right man for the job? Does he have the character to be the chairman? It may not be his cup of tea. We'll find out.
Yeah, but he had the chair between 2014 and part of 2014 to 18. Police Niagara Police Services, Regional Police Services Board. He was chair of that for several years. And
there might be a conflict of interest there because they're talking about budgets, and the number one budget that drains the region is the police, and he is a former police officer and on the board too.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, he'll probably have to give up the Niagara Regional Police Services Board. No, he's no longer a member. Sorry, he would probably have to give up that board if he was still on it. Yeah. But he is chair of the Niagara Parks Commission, so that's obviously gone.
Anyway, I feel pretty comfortable when you've got a very practical man with a strong idea of right and wrong.
Yep.
Has business acumen, where he's run a business. He's been a police officer. He's a variety of experiences coming into it. Whether or not this is his cup of tea or not, of course, my biggest concern with him would be diplomacy. He might have a short fuse for trivialities. I wonder what he would say about Bateman's submission of mileage. He might be very short with her on that one.
Oh, I think he would. Okay. He will. That's the sort of thing that he will hold no punches on. And then again,
we'll see how it goes, though.
And then what will happen
you cannot accuse the conservative government of just putting a conservative in there when previously they put a liberal in.
Yeah, but again, what will happen is the very next debate when Haley Bateman sticks her hand up, he'll call her first.
Well, the problem I think is no problem at all. Basically, I think we just have to see how it runs. My biggest issue here is, why does the government appointing the regional chair rather than the councillors themselves appointing him, which I think is supposed to be
that's always been my problem about this. Yeah.
And we voted for the councillors, and then they should vote for their rep.
Well, I think
on the other hand, they may get into cliques, whatever, and that should be debated and put forward, and different candidates should step forward. I don't know if it should go to the mandate of the people, basically, that the chair should be elected by the people themselves. I'm not so sure, but
I've always believed in the chair being elected by the people in the same way as we elect the mayor.
Yeah, I would say, but in the meantime, they're using the process that's in place, and that debate has not been resolved.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Yep. Moving on. Former special counsel Jack Smith has told a congressional special committee Wednesday that his team found proof beyond a reasonable doubt that Donald Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the 2020 election results.
Yes.
We needed this a year ago, Mr. Smith. And hey, how come you're still breathing, Mr. Smith? Because in Russia you wouldn't be.
Yeah. Okay. Who is Smith? Smith is a lawyer. He has a pretty vast career. He's a lawyer that came out of Harvard. He's done a bunch of stuff, and eventually he ends up in the DOJ. Once he's in the DOJ, he is tasked with investigating issues with the election, and they're after him. So they feel that he wrongly accused President Trump of two things: one, trying to fix the election and overturn the election, and in doing efforts in that, and boxing up critical documents and keeping them when he should not have, and possibly using those documents after he got eliminated as a president in 2020.
Yeah.
So basically now the Republicans want revenge. Well, especially Trump wants revenge on this guy.
Yeah.
And so they have a judiciary. I think a House Judiciary Committee.
Yeah, there is the House Judiciary Committee. They held a closed door deposition meeting to hear him, and House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan, who's a Republican from Ohio, subpoenaed Smith to testify as part of Republican efforts to investigate the special counsel's office, right? And Trump appointed U.S. District Judge Colin Cannon to classify documents in relation to this. Trump appointee Judge Cannon dismissed the classified documents case last July, July 24, and a separate judge agreed to drop the 2020 case in November of 24 after Trump won the election, right? So Smith has wanted to testify in a public setting, but the House Republicans refused to accommodate that request.
Yes, it's very, very important to know that the Republicans want to get him in a closed-door meeting and berate him on all kinds of things. And he says, yes, I'll come, but I want a public meeting. I want the whole country to hear what I've got to say.
Yep. Republicans
who are in control of this at this particular time said, no. As soon as he asked for that, they wanted it a private one. The criticism from the Democrats basically is the reason why the Republicans want this to be a closed door is because they want to be able to control the information coming out of it.
Yeah.
If it looks bad for Trump, they won't go further. If it looks good for Trump, they'll go further.
Well,
in the meantime, Jack Smith says this should be completely public. The Democrats, of course, all say, come on, make it public, make it available to all the American people. But the Republicans are very resistant on that, and they don't want that to happen. Even though Trump himself says, yeah, make it public. But he knows very well that they are not going to. And no matter, and the other thing to say, yeah, sure, make it public. But he knows, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, don't make it public. And if you do find something in there that we could use it. If not, keep a lid on it.
Well, the other thing is that Jamie Rankin, who's a Democrat from Maryland, made a joke of this. They said to the chair, "You made an excellent decision in not allowing Jack Smith to testify publicly, because had he done so, it would have been absolutely devastating to the president and all the president's men involved in insurrection on January the 6th."
Yes. Now, one of the big issues that the Republicans are bringing up is the fact that Jack Smith's team investigated the phone records of certain legislators, senators, and congressmen, and they say, well, this is an intrusion in their privacy. This is a breach of their privacy and against the Constitution and everything. Why are you doing that? Now, they have implied from the very beginning that the words and that the voices or the calls themselves are being recorded, basically, and that is the is the nuance you get out of this. Oh, well, they intruded upon my communications. That's not what they did. They looked for whoever was phoning the president at the time, and they had 9 of them, I guess, who were continually phoning or had phoned not continually, but had phoned the president because as possible co-conspirators if there was a conspiracy.
Yeah. And the point that Smith makes is that he didn't choose which members he was interviewing. Donald Trump did that because all he took was Trump's personal phone records and spoke to the members that called him or he called.
Yes. When I look at it now, who is Jack Smith? Jack Smith politically is an independent.
Yes.
He has been an independent and swears by separating his job from politics. So he has been an independent from the very beginning, evidently, or at least for many, many years, and feels that politics should not come into his purview. That's what he said. I mean, the Republicans are saying different, of course, and he has enough legal background to do the job, and he seems to have been a pretty ethical guy up until now.
Yeah.
What Republicans are trying to build a case that this whole thing was a scam, that all the Republican supporters, all the MAGA supporters that were on the Hill that day and attacked the Capitol Hill and caused the Republicans and the Democrats to hide. Remember, the Republicans did not come out and stay out and hope. They felt they were in danger as well. They were going to hang Mike Pence, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, Smith says that he has incontrovertible evidence that can be used against Donald Trump to prove that he was conspiring to overturn the election.
But the interesting thing is there's 2 parts to this report. Volume 1 is what was discussed in that closed session meeting, right? Volume 2 basically has not been released. It focused on the handling of classified documents, and a lawyer representing Trump has basically said that volume 2 of Jack Smith's final report should never be made public. All right. Well, that says to me that it damn well should be made public right now.
Now, the very idea that once Smith was subpoenaed, he came right back at them and said, "Let's make this public.
Yeah,
get it out there for everyone to see." And it's very important to see that the Republicans did not want that to happen. They want it in the closed doors. They could not make the case for why they wanted it in the closed door. They have some vague reasoning, which makes you immediately suspicious. Now, is this a ploy by Smith to make them look bad, or is it really the reasonable way in which to conduct this from the very beginning? Because it's such a revenge thing, it seems that it should be wide open, and even the president himself said it should be open. But as I said before, he is pretty confident that his stooges in the Republican Party were not going to let that happen. Particularly, they want to peruse what's there to make sure there's nothing damaging to the president. If there's something really damaging to the president on a public hearing, that's hard for them to dial that back.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know, Dave, there's a message here from Gary saying he can't make lunch.
Okay, Gary, that's okay. We'll make up a different time. That's good. It's good for me too, because I'll be a little bit busy today, but I owe you lunch, buddy, and we'll get to it sometime whenever you can.
Yeah.
Let us know, and don't forget my Christmas present.
Yeah,
he already gave me a present, though. He gave me an awesome present, a T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the point being is Smith has taken the thing. If asked whether to prosecute a former president based upon the same facts today, I would do so regardless of whether the president was a Republican or a Democrat. That's
Yeah,
good to hear.
it's hard to argue he was chosen basically because he has his political views are so down the middle, and he's an independent. Now, when I looked up independents to see which way they sway, right or left, basically most independents identify as moderates, down the middle moderates.
Yeah.
There are a certain percentage of them that identify as independents that lean left, and a certain
Well,
there are more independents that that identify as those that lean right.
Yeah.
But the majority of them feel as if they're moderates, right down the middle.
Right
and
down
the reason why they are that way is because they can't handle party politics.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. I would be an independent if I was in the U.S.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but again, he's an investigator, not a politician, right?
He's a legal guy, and that's what he's done his whole life. He has quite a well-established career, and he's got. They're going to try to break down his character and say that he was a never Trumper guy and all that kind of stuff, but basically all he's done is look at the law, and part of that, of course, is the documents that Trump withheld. Now we find that Biden did the same thing. He's got his garage full of documents that he should not have. I'm not so sure. Maybe if you go back as far as Obama, you'd find them there. Into Bush's basement, you might find them there too. I don't know what it is with these guys that want to hold on to these documents. In Trump's case, it was all over Mar-a-Lago or some of the storage areas that anybody could have quite easily gained access to those documents.
Yeah.
So that was part of the problem that Smith cited. But the main thing was the efforts by which Trump had tried to overturn the election. And I'm not so sure it may even include the Georgia phone call where he insisted that the governor kind of look the other way and invent 11,000 votes for him so he could win Georgia.
Yeah.
A Republican governor at the time, gladly, was a man of ethics. So despite the fact that Trump was a Republican and he was a Republican, he wasn't going to turn his back on the ethics. So too would Mike Pence. Mike Pence was a loyal VP, but he would not turn his back on the Constitution. And yet he is roundly, his career among the Republicans is nearly being ruined because he did the right ethical thing in his own mind, at least anyway.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. The US has listed a whole bunch of demands that it says that Canada must meet in order to extend the CUSMA deal. And this includes removal of dairy tariffs, and basically Trump is claiming that we have 3% or 300% on US dairy products. That it's also about Alberta's unfair treatment of electrical power, right? There's what was the other one I came across? Yeah, those are the three key ones, right?
Well, I'm not sure what they're trying to do here. They're thumping their chest, and Canada really has to change. It really has to get their act together if you're going to have a CUSMA agreement. These things are very, very minor. The dairy aspect of it is a very small aspect of the trade. It's a tiny, tiny amount of the trade. Even if the Canadian border was opened way up to American dairy, it still would not be a significant significant thing in the trade back and forth. Now, as it turns out, yes, we do have high tariffs on American dairy, but only if it hits a certain level of import. So for the first, I don't know how many million barrels of gallons of milk comes in free of tariff. When it hits a certain threshold, then the tariffs kick in. Now that is meant to protect our industry, just like the tariffs they're doing now on on the cars and other things in the States. Those exceptions were put in there to protect Canadian dairy farmers from overproduction in the United States. What's happened in the United States, the U.S. dairy farmers overproduced. They had no place for their market. And of course, they looked up north and said, we could dump it up there. We could sell it cheaper because we've overproduced. In order to protect our own dairy farmers, the Canadian government wisely, in my mind, said, no, you don't. You can have so much. And up until now, that level of dairy has never even it has only been close. They're allowed X amount of milk to come in tariff free, but up until now they haven't even made half of that, according to some articles, or it's around half. So the allowable tariff free milk that comes into Canada has not even come up to one half of what they're allowed to bring. Yeah. So you have to wonder what is really behind this. It's a very small part of the economy, and they're not even meeting what they are allowed to bring in at right now.
The other one, which is an important one to bring, is the provinces of Ontario, Quebec, and BC. And this is what I forgot when I first introduced this, have complicated customs restrictions on alcohol, for example.
Also a very minor thing. Also a very, very minor thing.
But I would like to see that
these things can be sorted out. These things can be sorted out by ordinary, everyday regulatory redress, because the CUSMA agreement is all supposed to be flexible. It's supposed to be able to you can bring up any kind of grievance for it, and especially anytime that it is renegotiated, all these things, and they are minor, very, very minor.
Yeah.
Prior to Trump, when they talked about the renegotiation of the NAFTA agreement, they said, yeah, it's 26 years, it's out of date, and we have to tweak it here and there. Yeah. Once Trump got in, it was a major conspiracy by Canada to take advantage of the United States. It's how you characterize it.
Again, I was always opposed to the withdrawal of things like Jack Daniels from the LCBO shelves.
Well, I was for it. I was for it, even though I like Jack Daniels. I actually like Jim Beam Black better, but
whatever your personal taste is, you know, I was opposed to that withdrawal. If you were going to issue a ban, you continue to sell the product until it's all sold, and then you issue the ban.
Well, okay, so they have these problems, and the other one is the electrical grid in Alberta to Montana, and they feel that the private generator companies in Montana are being it's not a fair marketplace for them, but that is also a tiny consideration when you think of the massive trade that goes back and forth. So why does this guy come up with these really small, nearly insignificant things? The power that goes back and forth across Alberta-Montana border. Montana is a very sparsely populated area, so the amount of power they use is minimal. So the amount of advantage Alberta has is minimal and can be sorted out with negotiations. So can all the others be sorted out with some sort of negotiations. And if you are protecting your own industries with tariffs, and then you go to say you cannot protect your dairy industry with tariffs, and Canada says, well, you are doing you're protecting this industry or that industry with tariffs. So why can't we? And they say you're not allowed to. As Trump famously has said early on, tariffs work for the United States, but don't work for anyone else.
And here's the thing about that, Dave. You just said it's a minor thing, and it has never been breached, right? The upper limit has never been breached. So why are we discussing it?
They're searching for ways and wins, a little bit of win here and there. Recently, if they have been listening to those people who approached them last week or the week before, where 150 industries or representatives came to Washington and for 3 days told Trump that his CUSMA deal back in 2019 or whatever it was excellent, and it did great things for the American economy. Any idea of canceling that would be a big problem for American producers. So basically what they're doing is, at anything Trump, you got to tell him how wonderful he is, and say how great an idea it was. And that's how they did. They went in and said, my God, what a sensational world foundational trade agreement you made with the CUSMA deal, or in their USMCA deal. What a wonderful, great guy. But I heard you're thinking about changing that. You better not, because we're telling you your wonderful, great, and beautiful idea that you just stole from the previous administration. But it doesn't matter, that your wonderful, great deal that you made is really helping the economy, and this is why. Here's the 150 reasons why you want to stay with USMCA. Now the negotiators are stuck in a situation where they find themselves having berated Canada and Mexico as taking advantage of them, but then have to turn around to their own producers and say, yeah, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it helps us too.
At the end of the day, here's the thing. We had already had with the USA the CUSMA, USMCA, or whatever the term you want to use for it. We already had a deal with the USA. Why did that need to be changed? It didn't. At the end of the day,
it needed to be tweaked. That's in the agreement that it has to be tweaked from time to time.
Tweaking is different. I 100% agree. Tweaking is necessary, but we've had 11 months of bickering over this.
It's only a one-sided bicker, though.
Agreed.
As far as the Canadian side, they're only bringing facts up. They're not shocked anymore when they say, okay, we're gonna do this 50% aluminum, and Canada just says, okay, you can charge 50% aluminum, but it's your own producers that are paying for that tariff, and you don't have any aluminum to make up for it. And if you put a tariff on our aluminum, it will take you 10 years to be able to get to the point where you make up a fraction of what we supply.
Yeah.
So what is the point of that? So these issues are becoming more, and as far as nickel too, they can't produce the same amount of nickel as we can. Potash, their ignorance on potash recently is staggering. When 80% of the potash that goes in the United States comes from Canada, and somehow they think this is a conspiracy.
Well, in fact, actually, potash is not that difficult to make, is it?
Potash comes from a mine, and a potash mine, and Saskatchewan's got enormous amounts of reserves. The other places that have it are places like Belarus and Russia, places like that. But Canada's potash is right there.
Well,
and U.S. farmers like that because it's close by and easy attainable and reasonably priced.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, use it, and I'm sure there's potash mines in the US as well.
Not many, though.
Maybe not as well developed.
No, they just don't have the reserves.
Yeah.
They have some,
All
but
right.
they don't have anywhere near what Saskatchewan has.
Okay. Let's do this one. Finish off on this one. People who write to-do lists by hand usually have these following 9 distinct traits that consider good. Right?
Here's our Science Friday thing.
Yeah. Better memory retention. I don't know. Part of the reason you write a list is because you can't remember dick squat.
So okay, go ahead.
You're more. Go on. If you got.
Well, I would just counter this with what Socrates had said many years ago. Of course, Socrates never left anything written down. Everything that he said was written down by his followers, particularly Plato, right?
Yeah.
Plato and Aristotle and those.
Yeah.
Now, Socrates was the main generator of that whole Greek thought. I mean, he was principal because he is the foundational person of Aristotelian and Platonic thought, basically. But he himself felt that writing and reading was a bit of a problem because it reduced, in his mind, reduced the ability of the person to retain a memory.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you write everything down, then you don't have to use your memory in your mind, therefore weakens the mind. Now, he's not the only one that came up with that. There were certain kings throughout history when, particularly when there was another king, I can't remember who it was approached by whoever and said, "We'll get this printing press in Europe now, and we can make all these books, and that's a good time to try to make more and more people literate."
Yeah.
And the king said, "No,
I don't remember
I'm worried about that."
Yeah, I don't remember which king it was, but I remember, he hoo-hawed the whole idea of the printing press and how detrimental it was to the human society.
Yes, he felt that people will lose their ability to remember and think, because the book now will you never have to remember what's in the book because you always have to go to a book to get it. So there was this idea, and Socrates had the same idea.
Yeah.
So when this particular article come up, I thought of that right away. Yeah. So they're saying if you go back to the time previous to now, where you wrote things down, it's better for you. It's better for your mind. Just like Socrates says, if you go back now to the time when we didn't have writing, it was better for you to remember things. So I'm not so sure. They're using kind of like the same argument. If you manually write things down, then your mind.
And I'm not so sure it really matters whether you have a shopping list on paper or one on your phone. Does it really matter?
No, but they feel in this particular article, they felt as if the very mechanics of writing it down enhances the memory, and therefore it helps with that. And because of the complicated things that happen in the mind, when you have to take the pencil in hand, use your physical coordination to use the skill of writing that you have developed as a kid. All these things enhance your ability to improve your memory or even improve your thought process. Is that true?
Yeah. The next one I agree with, by the way. You are more intentional about your time. And the reason what they say is that, remember, when you're writing something on a piece of paper, there is no delete button. Right? Yes, if you use a pencil, you can use an eraser, that's for sure. But if you're using a pen, there's no delete button. You have to write, and what you write needs to be the correct thing.
Yeah, but in any case, the very idea that I'm not so sure. I think the horse is out of the pen right now. Basically speaking, you're not going to get anybody to do that. My own sons never did bother learning cursive. They learned how to print, and everything else they put in is with a phone or computer. They never learned cursive. They never thought a need to do that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, more teachers are beginning to think that cursive may still be
they're
of
bringing
value.
it back.
They've
They're
taken
bringing
it
it
out.
back in school.
Yeah, they're trying to bring it back. And that could be for a number of different reasons. For one thing, it does improve coordination.
Well, the other thing about that, by the way, Dave, I've been speaking to some young people recently. Been very fortunate to be able to actually discuss the question with what do you call them? High school kids. And one of the questions I've been asking for years is, what do you think about physical books? And this year, I've gotten about 3 or 4 people, high school kids have said to me, I love a book. There is nothing like picking up a book, my school book, reading through it, marking it up when there is important things that need to be done on that school book. I'm more
Personally,
like
I can't see like I'm sometimes more comfortable with a physical book when I have an e-reader that I read. Although you'll find myself going back to a more physical book most of the time.
Yeah,
I've got tons of books, and it's kind of hard. I think the generations that come will not need that physical book. I think it's pretty thing.
We're going through a flip-flop process right now. There is still, I think, if you look at things like Star Trek, there's an episode where Jean-Luc Picard in Next Generation they're focusing him on reading a book, and they talk about how books seem to be so passé, but yet, he says, well, there are plenty of people who still read books.
Now, it's important for us to draw a relationship to the printing press and today.
Yeah.
When the printing press came out, movable type, basically, the Gutenberg printing press came out and then quickly disseminated through Europe. Literacy rates went way up. Available knowledge for the average person and student went way up.
Yeah.
More news and more things were brought to the public because there were more people who could then read in public, which was a thing then, where a person would come to a part of the town and read a book, read a passage of the Bible, read a document or a treatise or Martin Luther's 95 Theses or something like that. They can now be made aware because now there is a push for more literacy, and literacy rates went up. Information disseminated very fast in areas where at this particular time in let's call it 1500. That's it was before that. It was 50 years before that, when the printing press came up. But at the same time, in the Ottoman Empire, which was much more advanced than Europe at the time and much more wealthier and powerful, they had a resistance to the printing press and quickly found themselves falling behind the West. Now we have AI in social media and electronic communications. It is analogous to the printing press. So I don't think that we should fear it, that we should adopt it. But we do have to be very cognizant of the fact that you're going to get a lot of false information, like you did when the printing press came out. The number one book at that time was the Bible, obviously, but the number 2 book was Malleus Maleficarum, which was Hammer of the Witches, which delivered a lot of false and terrifying and frightening information that was completely untrue.
But again, Dave, let's say, but for Plato and his cohorts writing down Socrates' words, you and I would not know about the series of Socrates because, 2,500 years later, not knowing precisely when he died, remembering precisely when he died at this second, we would never have understood that, because that could never have been passed down, because we are not Greek, right?
Yeah, and what Socrates did not anticipate was he was speaking and teaching for the time at the moment, and
Of
did
course.
not think that his words would echo down through the
Ages,
through the ages.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
and he is a revered he's a revered philosopher now, even though he didn't write anything down. And the reason why he's revered is because Plato and others put down his were highly extremely inspired by him, and thereby and Aristotle, being a student of Plato, he then furthered that sort of whole scientific philosophical ideas and so on. So
just going to say our time's really up. Read the rest of the list. It's in the comments down there. Love to hear your thoughts about it.
Yes, everyone, and thank you very much for listening in. And I will bring up Gaza again. I hope that things are getting better there, but I guess the IDF is still using food and supplies as weaponizing them, still dropping bombs on people here and there. I don't know if that's ever going to end. The West has turned its back on what's going on in the West Bank. And anyway, I don't feel too comfortable with that whole thing. But if the bullets have stopped and the bombs stop, that's the first thing that has to happen. Let the kids go back to school. Let them play in the streets without having to worry about getting hit by a drone or a stray bullet that goes right into their head. Like, how many stray bullets could do that? I don't know. Anyway, without further ado, I bid you do. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yeah.